what happens, I take 1 week off, all of a sudden just random things happen, like Reagan just run up on stage, grab the mic, preach like a boss, drop the mic, and walk off. I think that's kind of what I saw. Maybe that wasn't the exact version, but it was something like that. So, we're doing a series called You Are Here. You're right there. You guys see where you're at? Right there where the red dot is. That's where you're at. So, that's where you're at. So, tonight we're doing week 2 of You Are Here, and it is going to be called You Are Here to Honor God. Tonight's message, You Are Here to Honor God. So, let's talk about 3 ways that we can honor God. But before we start talking about how to honor God, that's last week. Let's talk about the word honor first, because sometimes there's some confusion around the word honor. I think a lot of times people think of soldiers and all sorts of things, and they look at the word honor. So I looked at the dictionary, and what I wanted to look at was the verb of honor, not the noun. You guys know the difference between a noun and a verb, right? Henry County Schools at its best. So the dictionary defines the verb honor as regard with great respect, or to fulfill an obligation or keep an agreement. And I thought, those 2 things are perfect for what we're talking about tonight. So honoring God means because you have great respect for Him, you fulfill the obligation of what He asks us to do through the Bible. So it kind of works out great. You have this regard with great respect, and you have this fulfill an obligation. And those are the things you need to do in order to honor God. So in Mark 12:28, Jesus was preaching, and one of the teachers of the law they talked about. Now the teachers of the law were these great, Christian guys that pretty much memorized the entire Old Testament. So imagine the Old Testament and son of, begot, and try to memorize that, right? So that's what these guys did. They pretty much memorized it. And so he was going to try to kind of challenge Jesus. And so he came up and asked Jesus, hey, of all the commandments, which is the most important commandment? And this is how Jesus responded. He said, the most important one is this: love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. Has anybody heard that before? Yes? Good. So, there's a lot going on there though, right? It says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And that's really what honor is about, is loving God with all your heart. So, there are plenty of ways we can show our love to God, but for right now and tonight, we're only going to talk about 3 different things that I want you to be able to start putting into practice right away, because that's what we want to do here, is things that you can take away from tonight and actually start doing right away. So, we're going to talk about 3 things tonight that you can start on right away and start honoring God in a better way. So, number 1 on your outline is, I can honor God with my actions. I can honor God with my actions. Believe it or not, how you act in life matters. Bad actions have consequences, while good actions can have rewards. So, every action you take, there's either a good thing that happens because of it, or a bad thing that happens because of it. So, actions you do are a way to honor God. And it doesn't have to be this huge, complex thing, like you don't have to come up here and preach to honor God with your actions. You don't have to feed the homeless as your only way of showing that you honor God. There's other great ways out there to honor God through your actions. And so, let me ask you guys a question. Who here likes to unload the dishwasher at your house?
Nobody! Yes!
There's about 5 people here that like to unload the dishwasher. So listen. Those 5 of you, you're welcome at my house anytime. But let me tell you this. Unloading the dishwasher for me is probably the worst job in the house.
Amen.
For some reason, that 5-minute task seems like the worst thing I could be doing with my time. I would literally rather be in the backyard cleaning up dog poop than unloading the dishwasher. For some reason, it just seems like this meaningless task where I take clean dishes, I put them in the cupboard, and then I pull that dish out again and use it. We might as well just get the dishes right out of the dishwasher when we need them and use them right then and just put them right back and just run it every night, right? That way, you never even use the cupboards anymore. You just use the dishwasher. You can put other stuff in the cupboard like cookies and stuff. So I just don't understand. It just seems like a waste of time to put stuff back in the cupboard and then pull it back out. So just use the dishwasher. But at my house, I unload the dishwasher sometimes. Usually sometimes. So the reason I unload the dishwasher is because when I unload the dishwasher, it makes my wife happy. And I love my wife, and so therefore, how do I show my wife that I love her? I unload the dishwasher. And guess what? Being a good, loving husband is a way I can honor God. Because God is really passionate about marriage and honor in a marriage. And so for me, part of me honoring God is unloading the dishwasher. Isn't that simple? Look how easy that is that you can do an action that shows that you honor God as simply as unloading the dishwasher. So, what other things can you do to show that you're honoring God? How about being a good kid for your parents? Did you do that to honor God? Nobody? Man, the room got quiet. Everybody's, except for the parents, the room got really quiet. So, what are some actions you could do at school to show that you honor God?
Turn in your homework.
Could you talk to that kid that nobody talks to?
Yes.
Yeah?
That's me.
How about praying over your food? Could you pray over your food even though everybody's watching? That might do something, right? How about be respectful to your teachers?
That's good.
Nobody wants to be respectful to their teachers. So listen to my logic on this. Listen to my logic on this. Listen. How about you're respectful to your teachers, not because they deserve it or they earned it, but because it's the good Christian thing to do. And that's honoring God by being respectful to somebody in authority as an elder, a teacher. So maybe you're not doing it because they deserve it or because whatever, even though they're mean to you and they hate you or whatever, you can still be respectful to them, and that's a great way to honor God with your actions. I love this verse that we're going to talk about next, and that is Colossians 3:23. It says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as if working for the Lord, not for men." Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for men. And I used to think this verse was all about volunteering at church. Right? Because it says, work at it with all your heart as if working for the Lord. So when I'm working at the church and volunteering, that's part of me, working for God. But it's easy to think when I'm serving at church, whether I'm working up here or working downstairs, that I'm serving God while I'm doing that. But it's a lot harder during other times. Like, could you do your homework for God?
No.
Could you study for a test for God?
Yes. No.
Could you be respectful to your parents for God?
Yes.
So maybe it's not that you're doing it for them or doing it for you or doing it for your teacher. Maybe you're doing it for God. So I like the beginning here where it says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. What if everything you did, think of it, everything you did it with all of your heart. Not just a little bit, not kind of, enough to get by, but with all of your heart, what could you get done? Right? Not to please others. How good could you be at sports if you did it every time with all of your heart? Every practice, every huddle, every snap, every inning, every half, whatever sport it is, every kick, right? If you did it with all your heart every single time, how good could you be at that?
Very good.
How good can your grades be if you studied with all of your heart every single night, did all your homework? How good could your grades be, right? Because who here does just enough to get by with their schoolwork? Yeah. Some of you don't even do that much, right? You don't even do enough to get by. So, imagine if you did it with all of your heart. What if you decided you wanted to take up guitar? We got a couple guitars here. What if you decided you wanted to take up guitar and you practiced with all your heart every single day with all of your heart? How good could you be at guitar? There's so many things that you could do if you would just work at it with all of your heart. And it's so hard to stay focused on stuff and continue to work like that, but it's important that you work on things with all of your heart. All right, so number two, I can honor God through my words. So, words are powerful, right? We've talked about this many times. Words can do two things. They can either build someone up or they can tear someone down. That's really the two alternates with words. So why would you spend your time just tearing someone down with your words? Why would you spend your time doing that? It takes so much energy to tear someone down with your words all the time when honoring God is speaking positively into somebody's life. Speaking great truths and building people up with words is a way to honor God with your words, not tearing people down. And I honestly think technology has made society even worse at this than ever before. Because when I was a teenager, if I wanted to talk trash about somebody, I had to walk over to them and be like, dude, Jared, that's the dumbest thing you've ever done, right? Nowadays, you guys just subtweet something about that guy just did the dumbest thing I've ever seen, right? So I think people just now all of a sudden just feel like they're kind of invincible behind their little keyboard, whether it's on their computer or on their phone, right? They can say anything, there's no consequences. They can be as mean and hurtful as they feel like it, because if you get called out on it, you go, oh, no, I wasn't even talking about you, I was talking about somebody else, right? I didn't mean you, that was somebody else, or oh, my phone must have got hacked, or whatever, right? So all of a sudden, there's no accountability for all these negative things that people are saying. So, this is what I want to challenge you guys to do. Starting tomorrow, because it's probably already too late today, I want you to try to go a whole day at school without saying anything negative about somebody. Saying includes typing it on your phone, doing a Vine video, all of that counts. So, do you guys think you can make it one day at school without saying something negative? One day. That's all I'm asking is one day, right? How hard is it going to be? Raise your hand if it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, right? So one day I challenge you guys tomorrow, try and make it the whole day. That means teachers, that means friends, everybody. You can't talk negative about anybody. Teachers, parents, friends, ex-friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, Facebook friends, Twitter friends, Instagram friends, Vine friends, none of those friends can you talk any negative about, right? You got to be positive to all those people. What's that saying that your parents always said? If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. So maybe tomorrow is going to be like the quietest day ever at school, because you guys, rather than saying something negative, you're just going to bite your tongue and walk away, right? And just be quiet. Instead of saying that one little thing you wanted to say, you could just be quiet the whole day instead of saying anything. That means no tweeting, none of that. So, I think it's going to be tough, but I think you guys can do it. Try to make it one day. And if you mess up tomorrow, try again the next day. Right? Just try and make it one whole day without saying anything negative about somebody. So listen to this. Listen up. Matthew 12, 36 and 37 says, "But I say for you that for every idle word that men may speak, they will give an account of it on the day of judgment. For by words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. Now, I don't think anybody wants to stand in front of Jesus someday explaining why you talk trash about your brother, your sister, your mom, your aunt, right? That's going to be an uncomfortable conversation. Why did you say that about your brother? Right? So, there are consequences for your words. There are consequences for your words. So, I challenge you guys tomorrow. Say only nice things. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. All right, and point number 3 tonight. I can honor God during worship. I can honor God during worship. So the word worship can mean a lot of things, and there's lots of ways you can worship God. But tonight I'm going to talk about the one type that you're probably already thinking about, which is the music part of worship, praise and worship. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, is honoring God during worship time as it relates to singing on the stage or being out here, whichever it is. So I believe one of the ways you can grow closer to God is during worship. I think when you focus on Him, all of a sudden you just feel His presence as part of you, and that happens during worship time. And I think the problem comes from both teens and adults, because I see it upstairs and downstairs, is that just as you start to get comfortable and really start to embrace God, you start to realize that there's other people in the room watching you, and then you stop whatever it is you're doing, right? Just when you're about to really kind of go, you get nervous about who's around you, what's going on, and somebody might be, vining this or whatever's going on, and we just quit. And so what I want you to do is not be afraid of what's going on around you and just let go and enjoy that worship. And remember that worship isn't about the band itself. It's not about Caitlin being up here or Jared being up here or Tyler being up here or Brooke being up here or any of that. It's not about those people being up here. It's not exactly about the song that they're singing. It doesn't have to be your favorite song. It doesn't have to be your favorite person singing. The lights don't have to be exactly right. The mood doesn't have to be perfect. This is about time between you and God. And that's what this time is really about. So don't get distracted by all that stuff going on of, oh, I wish they would have done this song or whatever it is. Focus on God during that time, and worship will be a lot better for you rather than worrying about all the little things going on around you. And this is something I struggle with personally, because downstairs I'm in charge of the lights and sound. So pretty much all the sound of the band with all the music system and then all the lighting and all that stuff. Ultimately, I'm kind of responsible for all that. And so whenever there's worship going on, I'm always worried about the details. Are the lights too bright? Is the bass too loud? Should I be changing the colors of the lights? Does it look right? Does it sound right? How can we fix that? And so I get so distracted by all the little details of worship that I forget to worship. And so what I find myself having to do is, honestly, if I want to get really caught up in worship and I feel like I need that connection with God, I have to close my eyes. I just have to stand out here, whether it's down here or downstairs, and close my eyes, because it's the only way I can not be distracted by what's going on around me and every little detail, because I'm always looking for little things. So if that's something you struggle with, where you're just distracted by your friends or distracted by what might be going on, try closing your eyes and see if that's something that will help you focus on the words of the song and that connection with God during that time, rather than the things that are going on around you. And I have a confession to make when it comes to worship. You guys may or may not know this, but I am a terrible singer. I mean terrible, right? With a capital T. Like, one time I was singing at retreat, and it was so bad, it stopped Caitlin Dawes in her tracks. She was like trying to sing, but I was singing right in her face so loud, because we were super close in this little living room. She was just like, what in the world, did I sang this wrong? No, it was awesome, right? Caitlin's laughing, right? She remembers. It was so awkward, but I didn't care, because I was totally caught up in worship, I didn't care that they moved on to the second verse and I was still singing the bridge. It didn't really matter to me. I was just singing and enjoying my time with God. And I sing real loud when I'm getting into it, right? And so if you stand next to me, be prepared for your ears to hurt because I'm worshiping God and I don't care how bad it sounds. I know he thinks it sounds fantastic, so I'm going to keep singing as loud as I want, right? So don't worry about what's going on around you. Just worry about your time with God. In Romans 12:1 it says, "Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship." Offer your body to truly worship. And what I think that means is I think that means to put your hands up. I think it means to sing. I think it means to dance. I think it means to look a fool if possible, if necessary. Whatever it means to worship, offer yourself, offer your body as that. I want to go through a quick story about King David, because King David was awesome, even though he did some crazy, stupid stuff. He also did some great stuff as it comes to worship. So, the story starts in 2 Samuel chapter 5. In the beginning of his reign as king, King David, he was a king, David plans to bring the Ark of the Covenant back to God's city, which is Jerusalem. Now, if you don't know what the Ark of the Covenant is, go watch Indiana Jones. It's the thing that melts all the Nazis' faces off. That is the Ark of the Covenant. So, essentially it is, that was the presence of God. So, the Ark was Israel's most sacred possession. And when it was there, it was like God's presence was there. And so, it needed to be in Jerusalem. So, David and his men traveled to the house of Abinadab, something like that, some crazy name from the Old Testament, who had been keeping the ark in his basement for 30 years. Who gets to keep the ark? It's like, oh, dibs on the ark for the next 30 years, I'm going to keep that. So anyway, he's keeping the ark there. David and his men go to get it, take it back to Jerusalem with them. David and his men couldn't hold back their excitement. They were so excited about having the ark, the presence of God. Like as soon as they get it out of the guy's basement, they party all the way back to Jerusalem. I mean, they're dancing, acting a fool, just having a great time all the way home. Throughout the entire journey, Samuel 6:14 says, David worshiped God with all his might. He was a full body, no holds barred worship. But they leave out one little funny part of the story. David was so excited, he was getting his praise on pretty much in his underwear. I mean, they had this ephod that they wore, which was like pretty much a white shirt that went down to about here, and that's about it. And so David, the king, is dancing in the streets in pretty much his skivvies, right? The whole time, just dancing, doesn't care, just having a great time, right? He's like the world leader, King David. Here he is out there dancing for God in his underwear, essentially. And I think the Bible mentions him wearing his ephod specifically to show that David didn't care about what was going on around him. He didn't care that people were watching. He was just worried about worshiping God. And so, as he's worshiping God on his way back, his wife, she wasn't too happy. Most wives aren't happy if they see their husbands dancing in their underwear in the streets, but especially if they're a king, that goes over really badly from what I hear. So David didn't care that his wife was upset that he was worshiping God. And so he was so worried about the glory of God, he didn't really care about other things that were affecting him. And so David summed it up when his wife called him out and be like, I am so embarrassed that you are dancing in the street in your underwear. David kind of summed up his God it matters most attitude with, he says, I will become even more undignified than this. I will be humiliated in my own eyes. He's going to become more undignified than this. He will be humiliated in his own eyes. In other words, he really doesn't care what other people think when he's worshiping God. He's willing to completely humiliate himself as long as it's pleasing to God, and that's what's really important. So think about this during worship. Are you willing to kind of bury your soul like David did during worship? So tonight we have 3 walkaway points that are on your connection card. If you pull out your little connection card, make sure that's filled out. The first one on the back is, I will look for ways to honor God with my actions and words. So that doesn't say I'm going to be a saint, I'm always going to do everything perfect. It says, I will look for ways to honor God with my actions and words. That just means be aware. Be aware when you have a chance to honor God with your actions and your words, and do it. The next one is, I will make worship about God, not my surroundings. That's important, to make sure that you're making your worship time about God, not your surroundings. And the last one is, I will ask Jesus into my heart for the very first time tonight. So if you don't know who Jesus is, you're going to have a hard time connecting with him out here until you ask him into your heart for the first time. So if you have not asked Jesus into your heart, tonight's the night. When we get ready to pray here in a few minutes, you can just ask him to come into your life, and you will be able to worship him, and you will feel his presence in your life. So as the band gets ready to come out and start to play, I want to ask you guys to all kind of come out here like we do at worship time. So if everybody kind of put down their stuff and come out here like worship, I'm going to have the band go ahead and come on out. So I want you guys to think about this. When was the last time you truly kind of broke out in a happy dance for God? When was the last time you just sang your guts out, no matter how bad it sounded, for God? When was the last time you actually raised your hands during worship? When was the last time you just expressed that love for God and didn't care what people think? And so this is what I'm suggesting. Listen up. Instead of worrying about how you're dressed or who's standing next to you or what you might sound like or what your friends are doing, maybe it's time for you just to worship uninhibited like David did. Unashamed, completely in love with God. Maybe that's what you need to do tonight to really feel that connection to God. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to close in prayer. And by closing in prayer, I'm going to come down here and actually just pray at the altar. And if you guys want to kneel where you're at, you're more than welcome to. If not, you can just stand. And when we're done, we'll let the band get started. God, we just want to be part of you tonight, God. We just want to be able to raise you up in worship, God, and just be unashamed of the way we worship. God, it's so easy just to go through the motions, God, but maybe we're just afraid, God, of that connection we're going to make with you tonight, God, if we just reach out and just love you unashamed, God, of what's going on around us, God. We just realize this is a safe place tonight where we can just be open with you, God, and just have that connection no matter what's going on around us. God, I just ask that these students just open up their arms to you and their heart to you, God, tonight, that they can just reach out to you, God, and you'll be there for them, God, and you'll just fill their heart with love, God, as they just feel that connection to you, God, as they just worship you unashamed and just not afraid, God. God, just thank you for this time that we can just worship you freely in these great moments we're about to have. In your name we pray. Amen.